Hello and welcome to an episode of the Atomic Vinyl Reviews. My name is Jacob and today I've got an unboxing video, and an unboxing video that I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for. It's taken about 4.5 weeks for this thing to get here, and it is time to finally check these figures out. So of course, talking about the Rodan and Mothra MonsterArts Bootleg figures. Ooh, okay, let's get right into this. So grab some snippies and tear this thing open. So, really curious what these things are like. I've already seen some other reviews starting to pop up, so I'm a little bit bitter about not being the first person to film a review of these, but whatever. You can't win them every time. But still, let's see what we got. First thing is, we got this kind of like inflated rods of air that's the substitute for the bubble wrap. There we go, look at that. There we go. Get rid of that, don't need that no more. So here's what we get inside the package. Nice protective, jeez, there go my scissors, whatever. Protective plastic that goes around it. Yeah, it's pretty well packed, I guess. We'll see by what's in like the state of the box, but that should have done a good job at least on the outside of the box. And oh dear, let's take a look at this. Now I ordered the version of these with packaging, so I'm kind of shocked because I've seen other videos and these things had a proper cardboard box. And, geez, this is not what I was expecting. What the hell? Okay. Like, I could feel it through the packaging, like that one, that it kind of felt plasticky, and I was like, oh dear, did they send me the wrong one without the packaging? 'Cause I'm gonna be a bit bitter. Just, well, I don't really care, I only got the packaging to show you guys, basically. But, like, what the fuck? Look at this! Who the hell packages their figures like this? Yeah, just put them in the plastic thing in the outer box. Just like slap it on top. What? What? Okay, that's a bit bizarre. I'll look at the figures in a second. Let's just take a look at this box. So, this is almost an identical copy to the original box, aside from the fact that it's fucking like bent, and it's just been slapped on the front of the figures. Like, what goes through somebody's mind? What was there stopping them from going, you know what, let's open the box. Yes, open the box and slide the things in. What? I've seen other people's, in other reviews, they were fine. What the fuck? But yeah, again, I don't actually care. I'm probably not going to throw this away because it's got a nice glossy picture of Mothra and Rodan, but at the same time, I wasn't like going to do anything with the box. I wasn't particularly caring what state the box was in or anything like that. I only paid a couple of extra dollars just to get the box to show you guys, to compare it with the official box. So I got the official Mothra and Rodan 2019 set box here, so that one came in this really nice sturdy shipping container. As you can see, mine is seamless with no dents or any of that crap, so they did a good job posting this. And unlike this one, the figures were actually in the box when it arrived. We can compare the two. The original box, first thing that's different is you can see it's more matte. The pictures on it are almost identical. They pretty much just stole the same image, but this one's glossy. The Legend creation version, as you can see there. So that's clear sign that yours is a bootleg if it says Legend creation, which I like that they actually identify that it's not MonsterArts. But they do in the listings though, so it's a little bit iffy, but I like that they actually have their own brand associated with it, so if you kind of come across these in the wild somehow, you actually know what you're getting into. So let's take a look at all the sides of the boxes together. This is the fake, this is the real. So fake, bloody glossy as you can see here. All dented, but that's no big deal. Photos are identical, but you can see the legal information, like all the stickers that would run down the bottom here are different. So you've only got the 65th anniversary over here. And you can see the original box has a whole bunch of other crap here. These Tamashii, Bandai, and these weird glowy stickers. We got all this stuff here, which I don't know what it says, but we can figure that out later if we really care. This, all it's got is 65th anniversary sticker. It's got the label Mothra and Rodan 2019, Legend Creation, and Godzilla 2. So yeah, that's what the front has. Sides, got Mothra and Rodan, so let's see whether these kind of match. So if we turn them this way, fake again, real again, pretty much identical. There's a little bit of writing down this end in Japanese or something like that. This one doesn't have that. So they photoshopped that out somehow. And the opposite side, we got Mothra and Rodan in orangey writing, in glossy on this side, and in matte on this side with a big monarch symbol, whereas the fake doesn't have the monarch symbol for whatever reason, or the Monsterverse symbol, not monarch. What am I saying? Monsterverse. And now we go up to the back of the figures. The back of the box, I mean. Real one looks like this. Fake one looks like this. Same basic photos, pretty much all identical. I think that it's just a tiny bit of writing in this thingy here on the real one that's missing on the fake one, but it has the little bit of writing above the word Rodan there. So, yeah, interesting what they selected to remove and keep. The top is kind of interesting. Because it has some extra, like a serial, like something written in probably Chinese and a serial number here. But I don't know if that might be Japanese, but more likely Chinese. But it's got that written on it right there, which isn't present on the real one. So that's something that they actually added, which is really interesting. And let's just check the bottom. There's the bottom of the fake one. Got all this sort of stuff. Got the same serial number above here. Okay. So they actually added a serial number and all that stuff, which is really interesting for a counterfeit product. And the bottom is actually very different on the real one. So the real one is this one up the top, the fake one's the one up the bottom. So that's kind of interesting. It's got some stuff written down there in Japanese by the looks of it. I'm actually kind of interested what this says before we move on. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get my phone. Got a Google Translate app on that thing, and that thing is brilliant because it can translate stuff in real time. So just give me a sec. Okay, here we go. You know what I'll do? I'll take a screenshot of this. The product photograph may differ from actual product. Please allow the... it keeps changing this translation slightly. Please follow the actual product. Describes important information in product box. Please save it. Cleaning method: wipe dry cloth regularly. Use for children. Adults must unpack. You may dispose of this product without permission. It will have negative effect on environment. Blah 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 blah. Made by Nakazono. Nakazono. What does that mean? Made in China. Okay. The translation's like shifting a little bit for some reason, just because it's kind of a mix of Japanese and Chinese all over this box, so it gets a little bit confusing. But yeah, that is the box, guys. So, interesting stuff. Okay. We can, yeah, get rid of that. I still don't know why they packaged it like that. That just... I don't know. It seems kind of passive-aggressive in my mind. It's like, oh, I'm gonna buy it with the box. And they're like, oh, you want the box, do you? You want the box? Here, have your fucking box. I don't know. It's so weird. Anyway, let's get to the actual figures. The reason we're actually watching this freaking video. I don't know. Probably lost half the audience now. Just rambling on about a damn box. So, here they are. They're in a very, very similar plastic to like the same stuff we got within this box. I'm not going to open it up just because it's a pain. And I want to keep that one like as preserved as I can. But just trust me, it's basically the same sort of arrangement. They probably changed it up a little bit just to fit slightly different stands in here. Yeah, these are different looking stands to hold these up. But we've got the figures here themselves, and I can already see them. And they're already looking pretty good. just based on the sculpt alone. So like, check this out. Like, you can't see that super clearly, but there are legit figures in here that resemble the real MonsterArts ones. So I'll bring in soon. And you gotta remember, these things were cheap. These cost me like $37. I could have got this cheaper as well. Now these are 37 Australian dollars. For you guys off in the US, that's like almost half that. It's like a lot cheaper for you guys there. I could have paid even less if I'd have chosen to not get the box. Which, you know, seeing as how they packaged it, I would have not got it in retrospective. But it's a bit crinkled in some of these corners, but the figures themselves look pretty intact, so I'm not really worried about them being damaged, in all honesty. Just snip that. Anything around these sides? Yeah, all these sides have a bit of tape. No, just 3 of them. Okay. Interesting. We'll wrap this up. Mothra's trying to fly away. So let's take a look at Mothra first. Whoops. A very light little figure. Ooh. She's got very loose joints, I can feel immediately. Especially compared to the real MonsterArts. Like, right here, the first thing I noticed, let me just adjust the focus for you guys. Right here, her abdomen is really freaking wobbly. She can do the hippity right there. So that's very loose. Like on my original one, I didn't even know that there was a joint there until I saw photos of this one where it was like moved because it's so stiff. So here's the original. Look at her there. That's what the original looks like. This is what the bootleg looks like. And you know what? Just like ignoring the articulation, look-wise, they're decent. That's really decent. So I'll put the original one away. You just kind of can tell there's this very slight variation in the coloring. But look at that. Her wing patterns are really nice. They're a little bit more yellow, less sort of reddish, but I think that really works with this figure. Even the detailing on her eyes. Okay, I got it really macro now, so you can really see those details. But like, even her eyes, they're painted in really nicely. Got the little antennae, which are really bright. Again, they didn't put the... Let me just kind of move her claws, because you can kind of move her arms. So you can move them down. Even her... They didn't put that, like, white color around her eyes or the little black on her mandibles, which I wish these figures did. But I can, like, paint that in later, so I don't really mind. I would never, ever custom paint a MonsterArts figure, no matter how annoyed I am with the real paint job. I just feel that MonsterArts figures are they're just collectibles to me, and they're too precious in their original state. So I'm really happy that I have bootlegs that I can kind of tweak paint-wise, because I don't really care about messing around with bootlegs. We go on the back here. Got her wings. You can see this ever so slightly textured, and they have a nice curve to them. Really, the sculpt is like identical to the real one from what I'm seeing. Like, I'll compare them a bit more closely. But the difference is the wings are saggy. Like, this wing is kind of falling down here, which is unfortunate because it's not meant to be saggy. And, ooh, there we go. One of the wings fell. One of the wings fell. So you can see there are some little issues here on her hind legs. At the very high joint of her hind legs, there's a bit of like the extra plastic that would have been in the mold. You can easily cut that off, but it is there. And she is a lot more loosely jointed, which isn't good, but to somebody who's had a bit of experience collecting figures for a while, isn't actually the worst thing in the world. The thing about these figures that I think actually still makes them really good, even if the joints are pretty bad on them, is the fact that the sculpt itself is actually legitimately good for the price. Like, this is a MonsterArts quality sculpt, but it cost, instead of costing like like MonsterArts figures these days in Australia generally cost between like $120, $150 on average. They can easily go up into $200 or $300 depending on the aftermarket and all that sort of stuff. But also depends on the figure quite heavily. But that sort of a price down to $37 for this set, that's really good. These things cost less than either NECA figure. Because remember, you got to get the NECA figures separately. The Rodan and Mothra don't come as a set, and in Australia, both those figures cost like $50. So this set is freaking cheap for what you get, regardless of the quality of these figures. Now, I've seen other reviews of these, and particularly the Geek Chest one. Great reviews from them guys. Steve said that he prefers the NECA figures and recommends getting those over these just because of kind of the looseness of the joints and stuff like that. I'm still disagreeing, but I'm coming at this from an international perspective when NECA figures don't cost like $20. They're legit expensive in my country, so I actually would still go for these things. So there is still like a market for these ones. And again, I'm saying that just because there are ways of fixing up the joints on figures like this. One particularly good method for ball joints is you pull apart the ball joints, you paint it with a layer of nail polish. Like, I recommend just using a simple clear nail polish. Let it dry really well. Make sure it's not like make sure it like dries properly and well, and it isn't like a sticky weird nail polish. Obviously, like, I'm not an expert on nail polish or nothing, but just like use a decent top coat or something. And then once that dries, you push the two pieces back in, and the joints should be a little bit tighter. Now you can do that as many times as you need until that ball joint is slightly thicker and fits really tightly. And I've done that on other figures, and it's worked beautifully. I've actually done that on my Bootleg 2019 Godzilla figure, which I don't have on hand right now because he's somewhere in storage. I have a lot of freaking figures, so I can't have them all on hand in my tiny little display room. But I got the actual official Godzilla here, MonsterArts, so you can kind of see how they compare together. Yeah, that's cool. One thing that I have noticed about this Mothra that is another negative is one of her claws is missing the tip a little bit. So you see her little arm here, the tip right there, the one that's closest to you guys, that's been like cut off. So that's a little bit of a shame. Again, you got to remember, this figure is really small. Like, I've got this camera on as macro a setting as I can get it, just to show you this. But yeah, there's a little Mothra. Paint-wise, like I was saying, really decent. All across the board, I have no issues with the paint on her. They're pretty much comparable to the MonsterArts from what I'm seeing here. So I'm sorry if the lighting isn't the best, but hopefully you just get an idea of that the paintwork is pretty decently done. Let's bring out our Rodan figure. So this one's the kind of the meat of the pack, if you will. This is where the bulk of the plastic with these figure sets is, and you can immediately feel, yeah, this guy is a bit more hefty, he's a little bit more chunky, and for whatever reason there's some gaps showing at the back of his head. Put a bit of a weird joint at his neck there. Okay, that gap was actually really easy to fix. Now he looks pretty decent at his neck there. His jaw looks a little bit funky, kind of squished to the side. It's a softer plastic, like his face and like his horns and stuff, than the MonsterArts I'm initially feeling. His wings are kind of the same sort of plastic. So I've heard that like you can't really get his wings to line up with his body properly for whatever reason. Maybe like shrinkage when they were copying the mold or something. And to a degree, I'm seeing that they are correct. So you can't really, like, you can hold it there, but it's not really staying in a way that makes it really change from this. So, not the best. He's still kind of, his wings don't really hold to his body as well as I'd like. I wish there was a way of making really good articulated wings that actually had no gaps at all, because that's always been an issue with these types of figures. But you know, and off his wings going. Oh geez, what the fuck is this joint? Okay. I see what the guys at the, again, at the Geek Chest, their review, they talked about this, but they didn't really show this. This is something that I need to fix. Damn it, look at that. That looks like it's snapped off, like a ball joint peg, but it's not. What that is it was just glued in to here, like this square peg, and it wasn't glued in very strongly, so I was just messing with it, and it fell off pretty easily. So I don't know, I should get some 2-part epoxy or something that'll hold these two bits back together, and that shouldn't be a problem in the future after that. But okay, so we don't have like another ball joint in this section of the wing, which really sucks. But this section here does have a ball joint, which is pretty firm. So as long as the inside of it here kind of holds together well, it should work alright. I guess there is technically a ball joint behind that little square peg there, but it just kind of wiggles a little bit. Okay, that's kind of a shame, because it's going to make this review a little bit harder. The other major difference is if you look on his chest there, in the middle of his chest, he's got a little bit of a peg hole for his stand. So the original one doesn't have that. He's got a solid chest. We can just see if we can align his neck a little better. Oh yeah, the neck's easy to align. His neck can like shift side to side weirdly enough, like that, but I can align it back like that without any real issue. But his face here, sorry, it's kind of hard to see. His face here, his jaw looks a little funky. Like it looks like his bottom jaw's pushed back a little bit too much. And I can't really articulate it just because it's so squishy. I'm like trying to open and close the damn thing, but instead of moving, it's kind of stuck there. So maybe it'll fix up once I like break that seal there. It might just be like paint has like kind of glued it shut in this position. It's not really wanting to shift. It's kind of just like flexing on me. So okay, his mouth articulation it's a bit his face is made of really soft freaking plastic, and like his whole neck joint bits are as well, which is fine. It's just I wish you know, his jaw should like just open and close really like neatly and easily. But the paintwork on him is pretty good. He's got about the same level of paint, and the detailing isn't too bad on him. And you can definitely see like these horns are really sort of, they flex quite easily, so these are really loose. But by loose I just mean the plastic is really soft, but they're not like bent awkwardly, so that's fine. But I'm a bit upset about that jaw there. Still, for the price, not that bad, to be entirely honest. You've got great detailing going down his back here, though. They recaptured that from the MonsterArts really well, and we've got that sort of really lava flow like patterns on his wings that look really cool. They also came out pretty good. Not sure if they're as detailed as the original, but they look pretty much spot on. The original still had pretty much this level of detail, which like I keep saying, I'll bring him in a second. But there we go. There's a good look at our Rodan boy right here. Or our boy Rodan, I should say. Then we've got his little claws here. I just love these claws on this design of Rodan. They came out really well. I love those talons, those really aggressive looking talons. As you've noticed, paint-wise, he's pretty much just brown. Just this like dark brown. He really doesn't have any sort of shade variation. He's almost like this, he's got this ever so slight tinge of sort of this red color. Oh, and there goes his jaw. I'm still trying to fiddle with it. Just show you that, because I was trying to realign his jaw, and instead of it realigning, it just kind of bloop, popped off. But that just pops back in as well. But yeah, he can't. His jaw just doesn't really want to articulate. It's this bit just under here that seems to be stopping it. Legs move fine. Look at that. And until I break them. I'm being a little bit more rough with this guy than I would probably with a MonsterArts generally, just because I'm trying to you know, figure out these joints, how they compare, and what extent they can move, and they do pop off a little bit more easily just because the plastic's softer. The joints at the hip here feel kind of nice. They feel pretty firm, And the knee joint moves really well as well. You can kind of get this sort of really organic movement out of him, which is, you know, what MonsterArts figures are known for, this sort of really organic movement. So I'm happy with the legs here. Like, I did pop off the bit at the earlier on, but that's no big deal. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, we're going to bring in our real Rodan, real MonsterArts Rodan, and I'll give you guys a quick little comparison between the two, just so we can see them close up. So here's the real Rodan here. The real Rodan. I'll get him more in focus in a second. You can see that there. Here's our fake one. It's gonna be tricky since that wing broke off. God damn it. Fake Rodan. Real Rodan. Fake at the top, real at the bottom. So color-wise, they look really similar. As you can see, the real one was freakishly bland as well, just color-wise in terms of the paintwork, which is a shame. Just the same deal with the face on these two. They just have the tongue painted in and the eyes. The detailing isn't far off. I think the fact that the real one has a slightly more matte paint job to it actually enhances the crispness of the detailing, and it just feels a little bit more symmetrical and crisp. Whereas this one, just because he's made of a softer plastic, the detailing feels ever so slightly less crisp, but again, it's on a level that if I got this as a legitimate MonsterArts and it didn't have the crappy issues of like the jaw not moving and the wing breaking off, then it would be a legit, like, I wouldn't be able to really tell all that much that it's not a legit MonsterArts. There's some sort of warpage to it that kind of is a signifier though, but I'll give you guys a close-up. So, we've got our real Rodan, as you can see, with no hole in his chest on the side here. That's what he looks like. We've got our fake Rodan here. You can also see there's a seam line running down the middle of his chest. You can see that the detailing is ever so slightly a little bit more softer and less crisp and cheaper looking generally. But the wings, on the other hand, the wings aren't half bad between the two. So, this is the real one. This is the fake one here. Fake, real. Not too bad, honestly. I think that's because they're made of a harder plastic. It just kind of generally takes detailing better. Not that you can't have really good detailing in fairly soft plastic, it's just, I don't know, for whatever reason that's the way it came out. So, there you got his face. The face is quite noticeable that the real one has a better face. So, got our real one on the right side, and on our left, the weird jaw, we got our fake one here. So, you can definitely see there's differences. The real one, just because of the bottom jaw, I think it looks bigger, because for some reason they had a bit of shrinkage with the bottom jaw on the bootleg. So that's a shame. He doesn't really resemble the one in the film as well as the real one, but it's still fairly close. You can also tell in this lighting he's got a bit of more black on his beak in the bootleg, although in reality when you're just looking at him in natural light he just pretty much looks brown all across the board, like a solid color, which is a bit of a shame. Let's have a look at the backs of the figures as well. Fake up here, as you can see, by the lack of the wing, and the real one here. And there's a real boy right there. Yeah, okay. Got mixed feelings on this guy. Like, I think if the wing didn't break off on me, I'd have a much better case for this guy being like a decent figure. I still think that for the price, this thing is definitely still worth it. Like, you're not really gonna get an official figure of this sort of detail sculpt quality for this price, at least, again, in my country. I'm still not really happy about exactly the type of plastic they chose, how soft and gummy it is in some places. But again, the wings are really decently done. That's a really big bulk of the figure. And if you're not comparing the two side by side, on first glance, the detailing is actually pretty legit. Like, there's a lot of detailing here. Now, another thing that lets us down, which is also an issue on the real one, the paint job, very lacking on these two figures, which is somewhat accurate to the film, but Rodan did have those glowing highlights to his wings, which, you know, NECA tried to do, and it makes him look like beef jerky. Little yellow spots on it, which, it's a hard effect to pull off. The NECA's one's wings are really impressive, just detail-wise, because they used a really hard plastic on this. It captured a lot of really good detailing. But the NECA's ones has the issue where the sculpt is broken up to try and articulate him, which, you know, I have mixed feelings on. I think they should have just gone with a solid wing. And he's tiny. He's a lot smaller than our MonsterArts, and in general his articulation is a lot worse, and he's floppy as well with his wings. This one I'm not feeling is floppy as the Mothra one. The joints seem pretty tight on him. I've seen some people's waist joints have been really bad at falling off. This one's waist joint's actually really firm. I'm holding him with his wing fully extended, and it's not like falling down at all. And I'm holding him by like just where his pelvis would be. So it should be like blip falling down, but it's pretty firm. So you get mixed results with these things. Is kind of what I'm trying to say. So here's our NECA figure. I've got his closed mouth on there. Got really good detailing in these wings, and I really like the fact that they actually colored them this way, whereas got this red plastic with black dry brushing to make it look really lava-like. I wish they didn't have those yellow spots on there, because they don't actually, like, conceptually I think they're great. In practice they look really bad, but the paintwork really helps, and the sculpt, look at that. Look how crisp that is, and those nice textures. And we got the top. Same deal. The tail's pretty bad on this guy because they kind of just cut it really weirdly, because he should have that kind of more diamond-shaped tail like the MonsterArts does. So again, there's a MonsterArts bootleg wing. You can see detailing in the wings don't look as impressive, but he is a bigger figure. Size-wise, NECA down here, he's really tiny. And our MonsterArts bootleg, which is kind of a chunky figure. He does feel a lot heavier. They look pretty similar just looking at them like this, but when you actually got them in hands, the NECA Rodan he just feels tiny for whatever reason. Very interesting. Our bootleg Mothra and Rodan set, they feel kind of cheap. The wing broke off on mine, and they do have their issues, but at the same time, the sculpt is a MonsterArts sculpt. It's not recast perfectly, but it's recast pretty well, in some areas especially. And if you're really on a budget, these things are a real good alternative to the official figures, I think. But you will have to work on them, I'd say. Like, especially if you're one of those people who wants really good articulation, making sure that you actually do get something to tighten those ball joints like I suggested with the nail polish. It will really work. I've done it plenty of times. It does work well. You definitely can tell that these are made on the cheap, but at the same time, a lot of the basic things that you'd want to find in figures like these are there. Like the paintwork on this Mothra is beautifully done. I'm still gonna tweak her paintwork, but just on the body, I just want just really her face of all things. I just want to adjust. But the wings are perfect on this thing. And I'll even compare them to the NECA, just so you kind of know what to expect if you're kind of on the fence between these two. Here's the NECA one, which I was initially really impressed with, but when I got the real MonsterArts in hand, I was just like, okay, the MonsterArts are still kind of, they know what they're doing. But not to take away from the NECA still being a really decent figure. There's the NECA on top, and the fake MonsterArts, and the NECA is strangely bigger than the MonsterArts figures. But she feels really rigid. She has a great sculpt, and the paintwork's pretty good. It's just got this really sort of dry brushing effect, which really brings out all those little creases and details. But she doesn't really have any like super detailed paintwork going on, aside from just like the sculpt dictating like where the highlights and shadows should be. But her blue eyes are really well done. Also doesn't have that white sort of contrast around her eyes or the dark patch for her mandibles there, but sculpt is really great on her body. It looks really sort of just detailed, and you can see all the crevices and stuff. Her wings also made on translucent plastic, but the paintwork, you can really tell that it's painted on. It doesn't feel as natural, and the wings are really flat and sort of just the way they come out of her. It doesn't really it feels really angular and not organic. Both the MonsterArts ones, both the fake and the real ones, the wings, the paintwork feels really vibrant and more organic and natural and a lot more accurate, and the wings are sort of curved and they just look a lot more cool, I'd say. So I really like that, and they did capture that in this bootleg, and they still got that slightly furry texture on the wings. I don't know what to call it. It's just like, they're not smooth, they do have texture on them. They printed on these patterns really nicely. They came out really nice. You can see the bottom wings here, so I will have to tighten the little joints of the wings in that way that I was telling you. I'm curious what it'll be like after that. I'm pretty sure it'll fix the issue really well, but just to give you guys more of an idea. But her body, same with the MonsterArts, the paintwork kind of isn't as nice in a way as the NECA, just because the NECA has a really deep sculpt and she's slightly bigger, and NECA figures use this method a lot on their figures to make them look really good, which is just heavy use of dry brushing and highlights, like from black, just to really bring out detail in their figures, which maybe would have helped out this MonsterArts one, because there is detailing in the sculpt there, but it has very little paintwork going for it to really bring that out. But it's, made better by the wing patterns being really well done. So yeah, after I tweak that, I'm sure she'll be a lot better. So that's really cool. I'd love if we got a blue version of these wings, like particularly the bootleg, because I don't really... it's gonna be expensive to get another MonsterArts of this Mothra with like the blue patterns. I know NECA is doing that, and I'll probably get that one when I can. But again, NECA figures are pretty expensive in Australia, and they also take forever to actually get here. Because I can't really buy them from the US, because postage from the US for NECA figures to Australia is horrible, because the postage costs more than the figure half the time. Oh well. So... they come with 2 stands and 2 bases and 2 little clippy bits. They're just taped in here, which is kind of weird. They just use this like weird tape stuff to hold them in, just sticky on one end. So they're not really held in here with anything proper, but I don't know, does the job. Our Mothra has this little stand for her body, this little clippy thing, which looks really weird and like cheaply made, like somebody just got a file and just roughly like filed that in here. It's not even symmetrical looking. Apparently, from what I've heard, it does work. Rodan has these sort of clasping things here, although he probably doesn't need these because he does have that hole in his chest, so we can actually just use that instead. And both of these figures have the same sort of weird articulated stands, which are very different from our typical Tamashii ones. They have a lot more articulation points, which turn and wobble and stuff like that. And I've heard these came really loose for, again, in that that other review I keep referencing. And they are a little bit loose. I will have to tighten them, but I've heard that they work fine after they're tightened, so that should be fine. They're just little screwdriver tighten points. So, this one here is actually kind of firm in this area, but this is kind of loose. And these are kind of loose. But I do like that these, you can probably do quite a lot with these things. And they just go into these stands, which are pretty much identical to the official Tamashii bases. I've got one, I've got the real Mothra here, with her little Tamashii base there. It's just this Bandai Spirits under there. And this one also just says Bandai 2014. That's interesting. 2014. Okay, so that's what we have on the bootleg ones. So, these would just kind of like pop in here. Again, these are too loose, so I can't really show it to you now. I'd need to tighten it, but this does fit in here, like so. And you'd either pop Rodan straight on there with his chest holes. And does it fit? Yeah, it fits. Okay. So, once you would tighten that, Rodan should hopefully stay up. But again, just make sure you have a screwdriver on hand to actually do that. And same deal with Mothra. You'd just get Mothra, and you'd get this thingamabob. You'd stick that onto the bigger peg, so it does go on there, no problems. And then this should, in theory... Come on. Just gonna pinch around her waist. Oh, and it works. Okay, it actually holds her pretty tightly. Like, I was expecting, like, because it looked like a V shape, that it wouldn't really hold her. Like, her wing fell off, but I'll deal with that later. It is holding her. I've no doubts that she is held securely by that little clamp there, so that's actually really decent. It's just the rest of this weird articulation thing that needs to be tightened, but yeah, I'm sure that'll be no problem once it actually is tightened, so I'm not really worried about that. So yeah, there's our Rodan and Mothra MonsterArts bootleg set. And mixed feelings about these figures, but if I didn't have the option of getting the official MonsterArts, if that was like something that I definitely couldn't do, which admittedly they were hard to get a hold of, because I had to be pretty quick on those pre-orders, and even then, they're very, very pricey. If that wasn't an option, I would definitely go with these two. For the price, they're definitely not bad. They're definitely workable and usable, especially if you're somebody like me who's a little bit into their customization projects and stuff like that. These could definitely be really good for customizing. I could actually imagine myself kind of making this Rodan into a full-on non-articulated figure, or at least like kind of melding his wings with his body, so only his like neck and his feet can really articulate. That could be cool as well. Definitely could do some repainting on these guys. The Mothra is pretty good, like her sculpt, again, like I was saying, no real issues, because you know, she's so small and her stuff isn't falling off that bad. It just needs some tightening of the joints. But that Rodan with that glue, not the best joint. But yeah, I'm just rambling now, so I'll leave that there. If you guys are keen on like an even more detailed review for whatever reason, I might be happy to do that for you. Let me know. And if any more of these weird legend creation bootlegs, any more of these guys' things happen to show up on the market, do let me know, because I would be really keen for some more stuff like this. Just to at least do reviews of it for you guys, just to let you know what is going on with these things, because we've gotten some really decent stuff from them before, so, you know, we probably will get some more cool stuff in the future. Today was a bit of a mixed bag, but whatever. It was still one of the cheapest figures of these kaijus that you can get, and for that price, not too bad. So, like I said, I'd recommend these things if you don't already have the MonsterArts originals, and if NECA figures are too hard to get in your country, kind of like they are in mine, if there's a bit of a pain and a bit of a, you know, price difference between what they are in other countries, I would actually recommend these bootlegs, especially if, like I said, if you're a bit more hands-on and you don't mind tweaking them. So yeah, that is it for this video, guys. I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for checking it out. Peace out. Bye.